everybody wants to get united. Like, what we gotta do is meet everybody on 149th Street at the bench.
Today, I'm going to teach you guys all about variant structures in graffiti, how to use them, how to practice them, and even just how to practice your hand styles in general. This video continues our tutorial series that we have going on. You can find the full playlist in all the places you'd come to expect here on YouTube. Description, you know, the things up above, the whole 9 yards. But let's get right into it, explaining variant structures. So, all a variant structure is just an alternate way of writing your basic letter structures, which look like our basic ABCs 1, 2, 3s that we're all familiar with from elementary school. Now, basic letter structures are where everything begins in graffiti, and it's what we have to learn. So if you're brand new to graffiti, this is where you're going to want to spend all of your time. You have to understand the anatomy behind these basic structures before you can really hope to progress. This right here is what other letter-based art forms refer to as your skeleton hand. And the whole purpose behind the skeleton hand is that they're the letters in the simplest form. It doesn't get any more basic than your basic structures. Now, the reason the skeleton hand is so great for practice is because, well, they're super simple. There's nothing really to them, and as a result of that, they're not a distraction. They allow you to focus on other fundamentals that you're learning, rather than having to juggle not only your super technical, difficult letter structures, but also this other thing that you're practicing, and also this style that you're trying to do. The skeleton hand gets rid of all that. It says, hey, look, these structures are simple, nice and easy to use. You can handle us with ease, and allocate all your focus, all your attention on your other fundamentals. That's what makes these valuable. All right, so how do we practice our basic structures? How do we go about practicing our basic hand styles in general? The first thing we want to do is we want to first go into this with a perspective and the understanding that we're not trying to reinvent the wheel. We're not trying to automatically find our style. We're not trying to come up with the craziest tag imaginable. None of that is our focus at the moment. We can do that when we play around, when we goof around with graffiti, sure, but when it comes time to practice this early on, our focus is simple. We want to firstly learn how to illustrate our letter structures accurately, cleanly, and as neat as possible. That way we make sure that at least the letter structure is right. This will give us the ability in the future to illustrate whatever it is we see in our head. So if we imagine a certain letter, we can actually draw that letter. Our second focus is to get lines down pat. If our lines are sloppy, our letters are going to be sloppy. A lot of you guys hit me up, not only on Instagram, but on a secret little Discord server I have linked down below that I never promote, but I'm in there really frequently giving critiques, and every single brand new graffiti artist struggles immensely with sloppy lines, and you cannot hope to get better if you do not work on your lines. I know that might seem beneath people, that might seem too easy, it might, you might hear me say that and say, man, I know how to draw lines, I don't need to practice that, but trust me, you do. It's gonna help you out in the long run, I promise you. Third thing we need to focus on is shapes. Just like lines, if you have sloppy shapes, guess what? Your letters are gonna be sloppy as well. And this, yet again, is another one of those fundamentals that a lot of new graffiti artists think it's beneath them, that they're better than having to practice shapes. John, I know how to draw a circle. You're saying I don't know how to draw a circle? Come on, man. Squares, triangles, that's all easy. That's child's play. It's not. This is where all of your skill is gonna come from. You know those sick hand styles that you guys tend to copy and look at over on Pinterest? Well, guess what? They're as dope as they are because the shapes and the lines are clean and because they understand the letter structure. These three things that we're saying to focus and practice put you on the right track to that path. So how do we practice these things? For letter structures, draw yourself a nice horizontal line going across your page. This is going to be the baseline. Add 2 more lines for your mean line and your cap line. As we've seen in other tutorials here in the series, you guys are familiar with the lettering chart by now, and our goal is to draw whatever letter it is we want to, with the bottoms at the baseline, the centers at the mean line, and the tops reaching up to the cap line. This is going to ensure that your letters are nice and proportioned, nice and structured, and most of all, each letter will be consistent from one to the next because all of them abide by the same lettering chart, with the bottoms on the baseline, centers at the mean line, tops at the cap line. What's more is we're putting a limit to the size of our letters, to the height of our letters with this chart. Therefore, we really shouldn't be having any problems with scale between letters. One letter shouldn't be massively larger than the other letters, nor should any letters be really small when compared to other letters, because they all are abiding by the same lettering chart. Next, we want to make sure that our letters are close together, close enough to overlap slightly, but not too close because we don't want them to bleed into one another and cover each other too much. We also don't want them too far away either because then they'll start to look disjointed, and we are trying to make one cohesive word. So make sure to pay attention to the spacing of your letter as well. Now, if you do that, your structures will be on point, your letter positioning will be on point, as will your negative space management, your letter name weight, and when all 4 of those are taken care of, your flow will happen automatically, and you won't have to worry about it. Our goal here really with these basic letters is to understand the proportions of these letters, how their anatomy lines up, and how to cleanly illustrate these letters. Once you're able to do that consistently on the lettering chart, get rid of the lettering chart. Throw that that to the side and see if you can do that same exact thing without the lettering chart. Keep in mind, at this point, we're only using our basic structures. We're about to get into the variant structures here in a minute, but for this practice, only basic structures. Once you get used to doing all this, then you can begin to introduce a little bit of a lean to your letters and see if you can retain all those same fundamentals. Good negative space, good letter positioning, good letter name weight, and good structure. You do all that properly, and flow will happen automatically. From there, we want to move into our line practice. And there's a lot of different ways to practice lines, but just a few quick and easy ones that everybody should be doing, no matter your skill level, is one that I really liked, the point-to-point line practice. This is exactly what it sounds like. You draw 2 points on a page, and you draw a line starting at one point, ending at the second point. The goal here is to make sure that your line does not extend beyond that second point. For starters, the line can be straight, but as we get better, as we want to kind of change things up, we can make our line more curved. We want to do this practice using not only our fingertips to draw these lines for shorter lines, but we also want to transition into using our wrist, then our elbow, then our shoulder. This will make sure that we have a full range of motion and control for each one of our joints, allowing us to draw a variety of different lines with pinpoint accuracy. Another line study that you can go ahead and do, and one that is really effective, is a simple cross-hatching exercise, where you draw lines going in one direction, trying to get that as nice and clean as possible. Once again, starting with your fingertips, then progressing from one joint to the next, going to your wrist, to your elbow and shoulder, drawing lines at varying lengths. Then, once you're finished, go in the opposite direction, layering new lines over your previous set. Do this, once again, progressing from one joint to the next, starting with your fingertips and going all the way to your shoulder, to give you that same range of motion, dexterity, and accuracy for your line work. For shape practice, this is really easy and very basic. All we're doing for this is we're drawing shapes at different sizes, filling an entire page of them, using each joint we previously talked about before. So starting with your fingertips, going to your wrist, your elbow, then your shoulder. This is going to make sure that we're able to draw different shapes at different sizes with ease. That way, when it comes time for you to do a hand style in your black book, you can easily do that. But then when it comes time for you to do a bigger hand style, you can easily do that as well, because you've built up the dexterity and your accuracy in each one of your joints. Now, if you guys want to jumpstart your graffiti, if you want to really explode in skill and knowledge, then check out our Ultimate Graffiti Guidebook. I'm telling you, this thing's going to take you out of the toy phase in no time at all. Now, obviously, you're going to need to practice what we teach you in that book, but it's got decades worth of information condensed down to something that's really simple and easy to read. In fact, it's so easy to follow along with that brand new graffiti artist can start day one with the book, take it step by step, and understand everything from cover to cover. But we have so much information, and so much of that information is stuff that we here at the Artist Block developed alone, by ourselves, meaning you can't find it anywhere else. And we go into so much depth that even advanced graffiti artists can learn something from the book. I mean, when have you ever seen anybody explain flow to this level before we did? So if you don't want to get left behind, if you want to skyrocket your skill and get out of the toy phase, find your style, or get out of a rut that you've been in for years for you more experienced guys, then check out our Ultimate Graffiti Guidebook in the description down below. We have digital copies over at theartistblock.inc where you can use the code LEARN for 15% off, and we have physical copies over on Amazon. Got a link to both of those in the description down below. From there, we move to variant structures. Now, variant structures, as mentioned earlier, these are just alternate ways of writing your basic structures. That's all they are. Now, variant structures are determined by what stroke is used to make them. Now, with this topic, I have to be very transparent, really clear, because it's easy to hear this topic of strokes and go, oh my god, what are the possibilities with this? In other letter-based art forms, strokes are very important. In calligraphy, they're art form defining. For example, this is calligraphy, 100% based on strokes. This is not. In graffiti, strokes aren't as important. Really, their utility comes down to defining what's a variant structure. We have these basic structures. If we use one of these 5 other strokes, then we could take that basic structure and turn it into a variant structure. Now, when we do this, variant structures begin to introduce a whole new shape to our letter. They change the weight distribution of our letter and the negative space management of our letter. So we can have something like the letter S, for example, and this is a pretty round letter. It's got a lot of negative space, and it's got a pretty even weight distribution. But if we change the stroke used for the top of it, for example, suddenly the top is now smaller, it's got a little bit less negative space, and most of its weight is on the bottom. This opens up the variety of possibilities for our hand styles, throwaways, and pieces, and it can completely alter a letter. Now, something we need to understand though about variant structures is that while some letters have a ridiculous amount of variant structures like E, G, S, and R, for example, other letters don't have any variant structures. Something like X, O, or capital H have absolutely no variant structures. Why is that? In a case like X, there's no other stroke that could make the letter X. But in other cases like O, we run into a different issue, where yeah, we can make the letter O using a square stroke, but there's a problem. That problem being a little topic known as style thresholds. Now, let's not get too focused on this, but I do want to explain what style thresholds are for the sake of this conversation. Style threshold describes the range that a particular subject matter or art form can change or influence its style before it becomes something else. The example I like to give is if we look at a basic piece and we say, alright, well, that's a piece. If we simplify it some more, well then now we've changed it, we've reached the style threshold of piece, and we've entered into straight letters. But if we take that same piece and we make it more technical, we've breached the style threshold of piece in order to enter into wild style. That same formula, that same concept applies to all art forms. It's what differentiates normal portraits versus a hyper-realistic portrait, and it also applies to our hand styles and throwaways as well. Now, some letters, they overreact to style. You add a little drop of style in there, and they absolutely overreact to it. Other letters, you can add quite a bit of style to it, and they don't really react all that much. A letter like R is a great example of this. Letter K is another great example of this. Letter S is another amazing example of this, where you can add a lot of style to those letters, and it'll still retain a lot of its core features. As for other letters, not so much. Letter O, for example, violently reacts to style. You add a tiny bit of style, and that O is getting drastically changed. That reaction causes these letters to breach the style threshold of variant structures or base structures. And this is why, in particular, the letter O does not classify as a variant structure. So in one style threshold, we have basic structures. Right above that, we have variant structures. And both of those combined make what's called base structures. Now, base structures, put very simply, are just whatever letter you start with before adding style. Now, if you want a full list of variant structures and an additional lesson on it, I have a link to my website in the description down below where you'll find a full list of variant structures for free. These are all the variant structures that exist. There is no more than this. There is a set amount that's written in stone, and that list provides you with all of them. So how do we practice variant structures? By now, we should be used to doing our name properly without a lettering chart. That means the bottoms of our letters are all unified, so is the center and the tops. So what we'll want to do is we'll just want to replace any of our basic structures with a variant structure. And if our name doesn't have any variant structures, let's say for example your tag name is just O, well then just play around with a different name for the sake of practice. You don't have to change your tag name to this new name. Remember, we're just using this new word for practice. So let's say for example we had the name Reed, R-E-E-D. We could go ahead and take the R, instead of using the rounded bowl, we can add an angular bowl. Maybe instead of using a one box leg where you just have the one line that comes out, you can have a two box leg. Or maybe you want to use a lowercase e, but you want to have it with a more triangular top. That's completely optional. You can go ahead and try that out, see how you like it, see how you can make it work, and see if you can make it work. Because we're changing the weight distribution of our letters and we're changing the negative space of our letters, this means that your letter positioning might have to change to accommodate some of that new space. This is partially where some of the new learning curve for variant structures comes into play, is learning how to manage your new weight and space. But there's one more learning curve that we have to worry about, and that's getting used to the actual structures themselves. If you've been keeping up with your line and shape practice, which you should still be doing at this point, then you shouldn't find it all too difficult in order to nail a variant structure's anatomy accurately. But you can expect that it still takes some time to learn. You might find that as a new graffiti artist, you struggle to balance a pointed bottom S with a heavier top. Or maybe you're struggling just to get the top of a variant structure E to be proportioned to the bottom of that very same letter. Learning how to illustrate these new letters accurately, consistently, is your next goal. We're doing all this with the letter standing perfectly straight as well, and then once you can do that letter accurately standing perfectly straight up, then we can begin introducing a lean into the picture. And once you feel like you've learned one variant structure, swap them out with other ones. Mix and match them. Because what's amazing about all base structures is that they all flow with one another automatically. You don't have to do anything for it, you don't have to work for it, all you have to do is make sure that your fundamentals are spot on, and so long as your fundamentals are right, then your name will flow automatically. But there is a danger to variant structures. If your fundamentals aren't on point and you begin using variant structures and you begin mixing and matching them within a single name, then you could disrupt your flow immensely, destroying the flow of your entire name. So while yes, all base structures flow automatically, if your fundamentals are sloppy, if your lines, your shapes, or your structures, or any of the other basics are not on point, then when you add variant structures into the mix, you're going to ruin your flow. And that'll be an issue with your letter structure, your line shapes, negative space management, letter name weight, or letter name positioning. Now, Now, once we've learned all basic and variant structures, there's an amazing thing that happens that we gain access to. We gain the ability to look at other people's work, whether it's a hand style throwing or a piece, and we can break down their really technical letters into a base structure. That's right, every high style graffiti out there can always be broken down into a base structure. If it can't, then that artist has a fundamental flaw with whatever it is that they did, whether it's a hand style throwing or a piece. So just to demonstrate that, if we take a look at someone like Saber, for example, this wild ass right here, we could break it down to this variant structure. A Soffles piece, this E also breaks down to this base structure. And we see it again right here, where this letter right here breaks down to this base structure. With this ability, you'll be able to break down and analyze some of your favorite graffiti artists to see how it is they're actually stylizing a letter. Now, you don't want to copy that style, but it lets you see how that base structure is being used. And more importantly, it lets you see the limitations of that base structure. But dudes, that pretty much wraps up today's video. Let me know what you guys thought about it in the comments down below, and check out the rest of the tutorial series if you're starting out graffiti and you need a place to learn. We have the best information about graffiti anywhere online. We've got hundreds of informational videos here on the channel, and that's not an exaggeration. Been doing this since 2010 on YouTube. Now check it out. If you guys really want your skills to explode a lot more than your crew members or the other graffiti artists in your area, you want to start being able to show off some really sick hairstyles and flexing your knowledge about graffiti, then pick up our Ultimate Graffiti Guidebook in the description down below. It's the only one on the market that gives you a college level amount of information about graffiti. I'm serious, it's like a graffiti textbook. It's the only one out there that exists. It has a ridiculous amount of information that has never been talked about in graffiti before. You'll learn all about each one of graffiti's fundamentals in ridiculous amount of depth. You'll learn how to find your style, how to evolve that style, how to flow any name, and a lot more. Best part is, we made it real simple for everybody to follow no matter your skill level. And we have so much information that even more advanced graffiti artists can do to learn something from the book. Check out digital copies over at theartistblock.inc and use the coupon code LEARN for 15% off for you guys here just on the tutorial series. If you want a physical copy, we have those over on Amazon. You'll find a link to both of those in the description down below. But with that said, dudes, I want to thank you guys for watching. I'll catch you guys back here next week. And how does the outro go? Check out the best how to do graffiti tutorials anywhere online right up here. This is actually our older tutorial series, which has everything you need to know. And this has our brand new tutorial series, which this video is a part of.